Morning. Welcome in, guys. We are about to start our second discussion on political parties. We're going to take a look at our two-party system. Can I kick things off? As you'll see in the notes, right off the bat, you've got the GOP, the old Republican elephant, versus the Democratic donkey. They're duking it out, ready for that boxing match. So let's take a look at our two-party system and kind of talk about the ins and outs. So understand this. In the United States, minor political parties do exist, and some are very prominent. These parties don't necessarily receive wide enough or widespread enough voter support. However, they do have an impact, and we're going to look at those later on in this unit. So we're actually going to devote entire time to minor parties. American politics, though, guys, as you know, are dominated by the Republican and the Democratic parties. Okay, this means that we have a two-party system. And these are the only two parties that have a legitimate shot at really winning public office and the presidency. In certain parts of the country, one party may be more dominant than the other. Look back to our electoral map. Remember, again, for instance, we have blue areas and red areas. California is an overwhelmingly Democratic state, and we call that a blue state. While states like Alabama and Mississippi, these are overwhelmingly Republican, and those are red states. Okay, so understand this. There's a historical basis for why we have a two-party system. The two-party system is rooted in the framework of our Constitution and the nation itself. However, the framers of the Constitution were opposed to political parties. They felt that initially things weren't going to turn out so well. But as we know, with the forming of our Constitution, we really had two factions, the supporters of big government and supporters of small government. So you had a situation where we had the Federalists, who were led by Alexander Hamilton, and then we also had the Anti-Federalists. So these were your farmers, your local folks. These were led by Thomas Jefferson. So right off the bat, I should say, we've had two major political parties. In his farewell address in 1796, George Washington stressed and basically talked about the baneful effects of the spirit of the party. Okay, in short, he implied that political parties would be problematic for the country moving forward. Okay, having parties and really only having two options could become very problematic. However, since this time, political parties have evolved, they have disbanded and fallen apart, and they continue to emerge today. So the force of tradition. All right, once established, human institutions are likely to become self-perpetuating. Okay, this is how it has been with the two-party system. Hey, it's been there since the start. We as humans kind of react to that. We're going to continue to have tradition. We're going to have two parties day in, day out. Okay? The nation was essentially born with two parties, and it's been that way for nearly 250 years. Okay? Most Americans have accepted the fact that two parties dominate. However, some factions would like to see a third party emerge in the future. They want to see a significant third option or third choice. And that is something that people are striving for, and that's something we're going to talk about when we look at minor parties in one of our upcoming lectures. So we have, again, our electoral system, and understand this. Single-member districts are one of the most important features in our government. All right? Nearly all elections are single-member districts. So what does that mean? These elections imply that only one candidate is elected to each office on the ballot. Okay? It's not like you get 6, 7 people that run the same spot and run the same job. You get one person that wins it. And in these winner-take-all elections, the winning candidate is the one who receives what we call a plurality. Okay, this is the largest amount of votes cast for an office. Okay, because of this setup, this just basically discourages minor parties from running for office. All right, it essentially leaves us with two choices, and most voters feel that if you vote for a minor party, it's essentially a wasted vote. That's something we all can debate. With bipartisanism, okay, the two major parties find ways to work together and have a common ground. Okay? So, what we also have is the American ideological consensus. The United States is a pluralistic society. It is one that consists of several distinct cultures and different groups, different viewpoints. Everybody has a different stance on something. The members of various ethnic, racial, religious, and other social groups are going to compete for a share in the exercise of political power in this country. Still, there's a broad consensus. This is a general agreement among various groups on fundamental matters. So for the most part, there is a consensus. However, history has shown that our nation has been divided many times before. Completely divided during the Civil War. But you look at matters like the Vietnam War, which was highly debated and highly contested by two political sides. The Great Depression was viewed at by different vantage points and different angles when that occurred. And now, here in the 21st century, as we've been talking about, this kind of common theme this entire semester, guys, is our nation is continuing to be more and more divided. Okay? So let's take a look at other potential situations. First thing we're going to talk about is a multi-party system. So these are situations where critics basically feel that a two-party system is not worthy and it's not valid, and they feel that it should be replaced here in the United States. And a lot of people are clamoring for a multi-party system, which is very similar to what we see across the world. So let's talk about this in a talk about a multi-party agreement. These arrangements is essentially a situation that has a system that develops with several major and many lesser parties existing and competing with a chance to win. So you could have one of these third parties win and actually run the government. This has been evident in several European democracies and is starting to emerge in other parts of the world. Multi-parties may represent people's particular economic or religious beliefs, etc. Some would argue that this would be more responsive to the will of the people and reflective of what the people actually want. The key here is that people that vouch for a multi-party system say, hey, there's more meaningful choice. Despite these good intentions, multi-party systems can lead to unstable governments. All right, it's not very strong up the top. So in order to build that strength, this is where we see the need for a coalition. Okay, a coalition is a temporary alliance of several groups to form a working majority within a government. So you have different viewpoints, you have different sides of the aisle, but they're going to come together in a coalition to help run a particular government. Now, to finish up things here, one-party systems and party membership. As we know, in what we've looked at different types of governments at the start of this semester, in nearly all dictatorships today, only one political party is allowed, and that party is the party of the ruling class. Okay, it is accurate to say that a one-party system is just a no-party system. Okay, no opposing parties are able to compete against the party of the dictator. Okay, all right. Now understand this: here on the home front, when choosing a party to identify with, most people are going to consider family values, societal values, economic values, and religious values. But understand this too: nearly 2/3 of Americans are going to side or affiliate with the party of their parents, okay, growing up. So if your parents are a Democrat, you're more likely to be a Democrat. If your parents are Republican, you're more likely to be Republican. However, we are seeing a rapidly moving shift on this particular situation here in the 21st century. Now, more households than ever have become very split, all right, and party affiliations have become a topic that is highly debated at home. And unfortunately, it's very sad, folks. There have been a lot of families where people essentially, because of their differing political opinions within families, people won't talk to one another anymore, simply because of their political values and how they take their stance. So you could have a Republican family that has a son or daughter that is Democratic, and that person, they don't mesh well, and all of a sudden, the sadness is that these people don't talk to one another, and you see a lot of households that are very split and very divided, and that is true across the board, not only in Dexter, but across the country. Okay? All right, so hey, that's a look at our two-party system. We're going to take a look at the journal log, and we're going to continue working on our I Take a Stance projects. Okay? All right, guys, have a good one.